Welcome to the Thriving Tides podcast. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Julianne. If you're an entrepreneur who loves self-care, you're in the right place.
We can't wait to share our experiences with you.
Welcome back to another episode of Thriving Tides. We are very excited to be joined with a special guest tonight. Bernadette Curry is in the closet.
I'm so in the closet. Welcome to the closet.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Very excited to have you here today. For those of you who don't know Bernadette, where have you been? I'm just kidding. Bernadette is a personal trainer and she owns Fitlife. It's a health and wellness company that offers personal training, online programming through BodyW8 Balance. She does fitness classes, corporate wellness initiatives for companies, and she's got other products and services as well, which will probably come up throughout this conversation. She is a busy bee. She's originally from Philadelphia. And whoop, she, whoop, 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 whoop. Where's our American friends? Right here. She's like, I was like, is she my only one? Maybe. But that's okay. She moved to the island in 2014. So it's been 6 years now. Prior to that, she worked in financial services, and that was for over 13 years. She worked as a business analyst at the Bank of New York Mellon. It's a new one for me. I don't know if we'll get into the story of you and Lenny tonight or not, but her husband is from here, and they met back in 2012. And then, of course, he persuaded her to come to the best place ever to live. So she made the move here and decided to leave the corporate world and actually just start a new pursuit of health and helping people find their health as well, and running her own business, which is pretty awesome.
It's been a weird path. It's been a weird ride.
Let's just put it there.
Yes.
And we're going to get into that tonight. We're going to talk about all the things Bernadette. And thank you so much for agreeing to be here with us tonight.
This is exciting.
Yes.
This is very exciting. When I woke up and I thought I'd never be sitting in a closet with two other women.
Awesome people.
It's like when you do 7 minutes of heaven in high school or whatever.
We'll do things a little differently tonight.
Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. So,
and you gave me an excuse to shower and put makeup on today.
Right? You're
and
welcome.
not wear fitness clothes. So we're off
that
to a
is
good
always
start.
a nice
I'm very
thing.
excited.
Right? That's awesome. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Bernadette.
Okay. Well, I'll give the, you guys say Cole's Notes version here?
We do.
I say Cliff Notes.
Okay.
So I'll give you the
fair.
Cliff Notes version of how I progressed to getting to how the hell I ended up on PEI. In a nutshell.
How you got so lucky.
Yeah, how I got so lucky. Absolutely, yeah. So yeah, you gave, it's funny when you say 13 years, so I'm I'm only 20.
Right? How did this even happen?
How is the math doesn't even work out. So in college, I went to college, I was working for a financial advisor there. Mm-hmm. Kind of always knew I knew I wanted to get a, oh, who's calling me? How rude.
Don't they know you're on Thriving Tides right now?
Do not disturb. That's so bad. Anyway.
You're not cutting that out.
It's going to probably...
very important.
Squirrel moments are probably, you probably take a shot every time that happens. Anyway. So I was working for a financial advisor. I was going to college. At first, I wanted to do TV, radio broadcasting, but then I realized there was no money in it.
Yeah.
It's very hard to make a good dollar.
Yeah.
So I just said, well, I'll just major in making money. So I just majored in business and finance.
There we go. Yeah.
Okay. Worked for a financial advisor through college, and then graduated. And I was always interested in a career path. Mm-hmm. And there was no career path there. It was an office of 10 women, which was fun. And so then I started at a company that eventually got bought and then bought and then bought and then ended up being the Bank of New York Mellon, which is a pretty big company, a financial services company in the States. So I started there in 2004, which seems like forever ago.
It is forever ago.
Yeah. And then my natural progression was entry-level position, up and up and up. Again, climbing that was what was important, climbing the corporate ladder.
Of course.
And realized that when I was like 28 or 29, that I was super burned out. Like I was like it was not the 8 to 5, it was like the 8 to 8 and weekends and everything. Right? And we kind of talked about this because we kind of had similar paths in that way, right? So I was burned out and like approaching like complete, like trying to switch my career. And then I met a boy.
The age-old story.
Yes. And no one said you're going to meet anybody in a bar, and that's bull crap. Yeah. Because that's where I met Lenny, when I least expected it. So that was in 2012. And then, so then there's a giant, then there's the whole love story or whatever. And then
whatever. We won't get into that.
Yeah, we won't get into that. And so then I, with us, there was a period of us talking about who's living where. It made sense for me to move here for a variety of reasons. So then I ended up here, and then it was the whole idea of, what do you want to do? And I'd already been teaching fitness classes. Like I started those in 2010.
Okay. Before Lenny.
Pre-Lenny. And I was teaching Zumba mostly. And so when I moved up here, Lenny was like, well, what do you want to do? And I was like, I don't know, I kind of want to like teach classes or train, and he was like, well, then do that. And I was very fortunate because I've always said since day one, like to him, because he carried a lot of the burden of supporting me financially, right, when I first moved up here. But I was always like, if you need me to go and get a job at Starbucks or Tim's or whatever, like, I will do that, right? Yeah. And like never once was he like, you need to go and get I don't want to say real job, but like you need to go and get you need to get like a full-time job or something. This is working, right? Yeah. So I've been very fortunate in that. And then when I came up here, and then just decided that and that's a whole other discussion about fitness classes and how you can make a living or not make a living doing that. And then the natural progression was to get into personal training, and baby Fitlife was born in 2015.
For anyone who follows my Instagram account, you would know that I do Bernadette's BodyW8 Balance workouts quite often. So normally the sweaty mess that I show up as is all thanks to her.
That's a wonderful compliment.
That's so cool that you had like a nice like big open space to be able to visualize and bring to life this business of yours, right? Where it wasn't like the pressure of like, you need to be paying these bills or you need to do whatever, that you weren't getting that from your husband. Yeah. But how did it feel for you? He's very good at cloaking that. He was very good at cloaking that. Yeah. Because how is it for me? I have always been an independent contributor. Like I've always wanted to be productive, and especially when I first moved up here, there was a period in time for like 10 months where I could not legally work, and because I am not a Canadian citizen, right? Yeah. So while we were waiting for my visa to go through, like, I was just trying to be productive in the ways that I could be, like cleaning the house or doing renovations or and then just trying to make it known that I wasn't just sitting on the couch and watching Netflix and eating donuts or something. Right? Because I was always, and it was, again, like, this is all on me, right? This is all my anxieties. Never was Lenny of, like, him coming home. He never once said, oh, you're sitting on the couch again, and you know, what did you do today? Did you do anything productive?
Right. Because I would never see him saying that.
Yeah, I know. But I had that in my, like, there was so many things that I would make up with my anxiety.
It's the story that you were telling yourself to make yourself feel bad, even though you didn't have to feel bad, because he wanted you there just as much as you want to be there.
Right.
So.
And, like, I'm very good at forgetting the sacrifices that, I'm always good at being like, well, Lenny had to provide, and he had to support me financially, and this and this and this. And, like, he's good at constantly reminding me, like, you left your family. Like, you left everything that you had, all your friends, everything.
A country.
Like, you moved to a place you never heard of before.
Yeah. Big change.
So, it is like it has been kind of a struggle to be different because I'm not making the money that I was in Philly.
No.
You know, I was making very good money when I left. And so that's the struggle that I have is what do I define, what do I define productivity or contribution as?
Yeah.
And it's not just a dollar figure. Oh, it's so weird. It's very weird.
But like, does that feel freeing to be able to look at it that way? Or is it like still like, I'm looking at your face and you're telling me
I'm
no?
very scrunched. It's attractive.
We'll do a freeze frame.
It is. It's sometimes you're probably guilty of this, and I'm sure Stephanie's guilty of this. Sometimes you say things, and you're like, there are things that you should believe, but your head's like, you don't believe that,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that's how that is. Like, oh, it's very freeing to not make the money that I made before, but I always put myself in check, and when I check in with I'm still really good friends with everybody that I worked with back in Philly, and I'm always good to check in with them. I literally check in with them at least once a year, and I'm like, should I miss it?
Right.
Should I miss the job? Should I miss the money? And they're always like, no. It's no better here than when you left.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting.
Yeah.
It is tough to leave that security and to leave that place where you were doing well, right? And you were on this path, and for so long you're like, okay, well, how do I make money? I'm going to go do that. You did it.
But the path was about making money.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Like I said to you, that point when I met Lenny, I had the resume done.
Yeah.
I was fishing around for another job because I was like, I can't do this for another 5 years. Yeah. Like I have a mentor of mine from my old job, and he always used to say to me, like, what's your 5-year plan? What's your 5-year plan? And I'm like, I don't know. Get out of here.
But
certainly wasn't ever meet a boy, go to Canada, become a personal trainer, right?
It wasn't.
But, but that
you
was...
had that in your journal, right? Like move to PEI?
Oh,
that was totally there for years.
Moved to an island that I've never heard of.
That's so funny. And so... tell us a little bit more about Fitlife and like how is that meeting your needs now in terms of like being able to contribute and have the fulfilling, like you're busy with it, right? Like, but you have a different type of schedule. Weird. Like we're recording on a Wednesday night this week,
which I'm very
we're happy to do.
Okay,
but
full disclosure, not the diva. Like didn't want to be like, honey, I'm only. But it was just because it's been an evolution. Like I am so. No one's cried in here yet, right?
We've had some tears.
Okay, well, I'm not going to. I'm just asking the question. But
I'm not going to cry.
I am so fortunate to have loyal clients, and I mean, if I could look back at 2015 Bernadette and say, you're gonna actually like make some money. You're gonna be able to like
work.
Right. Yeah. You're gonna be able to like go out to like not. Okay, this is another one that was weird for me. Not ask Lenny for money.
Yeah.
Like not be embarrassed to ask him for. Again, that was all on me.
Yeah.
He'd always be like, whatever you need.
Yeah.
Right. But with Fitlife now, it's just it's. Oh, you're not going to like the word I'm just going to say. Did you know what I was going to say?
Hustle?
Yeah, I was. I was like, oh. It is still.
Get out.
And thank you. Good night. Your time here is done.
Okay, we'll let you explain yourself and then we'll...
No, I mean, when I say hustle, I mean just because this industry is a hard industry to be in.
Yeah.
So, and... the island, I'm going to say all the token things, right? The island is small and I'm not from here. And so it took a long time for me to kind of develop myself and my training and my classes into something where, people followed me because people are creatures of their routine, right? You know it. And like stuff like when you do have your routine in the morning, when you do your yoga and your meditation and all that, right? So, like, for someone to come in that's new and try to pick away at that in a small population, it's really hard. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, COVID was enlightening, too, for the business and how things changed with that.
Yeah.
But, it's and Stephanie knows as well, because I'm working with Stephanie on some things. Like, the business is constantly evolving, too. It's always like, you can't just for me, and where my business is at, you can't just pick one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you can't just teach fitness classes.
Right.
Because I've done that, where you've taught 12 times a week and you're like, this is terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
right?
then it would get really repetitive and exhausting too, right? Like...
Yeah.
And like,
you
where
don't
do you
have
find
your
the people?
time. Like, I never had my time to get a workout in.
Right.
Yeah.
Right?
What,
So,
shaking it up at the front or doing all that? Doing Zumba classes?
yeah. But, like, that's what it was. I mean, my love of, you found yoga, right?
Yeah.
Like, you love yoga. And I never knew you were a yoga teacher, by the way.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I don't disclose it just because I'm not, like I said, it's been years.
Yeah.
This is like 19, 18-year-old Stephanie.
Yeah.
So long ago.
So
She's so
long.
old.
No.
I'm so old.
I mean, it was like 2 years ago. And, like, you have your things that you like to do, right?
Yeah.
Your martial arts and
Yeah.
like the kickboxing and all that, and then
Yeah.
sprinkling in some body weight stuff,
bodyweight,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. Plug.
Love her. Body weight.
But that, and as much as I love the body weight routines that I come up with, it wasn't until, again, COVID changed things, but it wasn't until COVID that I did my own programming.
Right.
Like,
I
would
remember you
never
saying
do that. I would never do things that I program because I would immediately overanalyze everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And critique it. And be like, this sucked. Why do people like these workouts?
Like, are they lying to me? Are they
Like,
just saying
they're
they
just
like
trying to blow smoke up
it?
my butt.
What's going on?
Yeah.
Have you started to try to mitigate the imposter syndrome when it comes, or have you still is it still something that you're working on? Because as you're doing it more, do you find that it's helping, or?
Work in progress.
Yeah.
Work in progress.
Yeah. And that's totally okay.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, it's a lot. And like, you've talked about the fact that you have anxiety as well, right? So
Big
like, couple
time.
that in
Big
with
time.
feeling inadequate or that you're not there. Like, how do those worlds collide?
It's hard being a trainer because when people hear that I have anxiety, or they hear that like I've been depressed, or I've had a mental breakdown, which are all things that have happened, that they're like, really, you? Like, you're always so cheerful, and I would never think that. And the truth is like, as a trainer or a fitness instructor, we are trained to not have a bad day. Like, we can't walk into a class and be like, oh, okay, all right, let's get ourselves going.
Right.
Like, no one's
coming
people
back.
are coming to a class or doing a workout to escape, right? To give themselves some mental clarity, or to, clear their head of things, right? So I do really struggle with, and it's a good point to kind of talk about the differences between my business sense and Lenny's business sense, because it does hold me back too. Like, that feeling of inadequacy and I'm not good enough. And, when I see my peers or my mentors and I'm like, oh, like, they're doing so good. Like, why can't I just be like the best? And
Comparison. It's the worst.
yeah. But I am better with, like, there's a couple people, there's some of people that are in the industry that I follow because they're big cheerleaders of mine. So it's, community
cool.
over competition, hashtag.
Yes.
Yep.
Yep.
And I just used that today, by the way.
I saw that. Yes.
But then there's other people that are maybe a little bit more of a competitor to me that I unfollow them because I obsess like over like, all right, what are they doing? Why aren't I doing that? Why are they getting them? Why is that person going?
Right.
Why are they getting more numbers than I am? Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah. And even fitness classes doesn't bother me anymore. It's more of, I think, again, COVID is like the online space because it is such a competitive space now.
Yeah.
Big
right?
time.
Like,
yeah,
so
absolutely. Yeah.
I was saying, when I noticed, like, when COVID hit, all of a sudden there's so many sponsored new programs out there and discounted programs, and how do you change that or like compete with that when everyone's now doing it? And I saw a bunch of free classes all the time, and you're just like, but I still have to pay my bills.
This is my livelihood.
I love free. I've explained it to people, like, and again, this is, you don't want to sound like the disgruntled person because there's something, listen, I shop for groceries at Walmart because it's cheaper, right? Yeah. So there are things that you do because if they work and they're free or they're low cost, then that's great.
Yeah.
But I try to compare it to people and be like, okay, Steph, there's a graphic designer and they do as good of a job as you do and whatever, and you're working in an office space and someone comes in and sits next to you and says, I'll work for free.
Yeah.
I'll do the same job that she's doing. I'll do it for free, right? And you'd be like, well, no, like, I can do, like, yeah. So, I mean, I kind of compare it to that as like, you know, when people step in and they start giving things that are low cost and free, it diminishes the quality of work and the training and everything that we put into this.
Yeah.
You know, and at the same time, like, this is our livelihood, right? This is what we're using, like, to make money. So when COVID hit, you know, I had BodyW8 Balance. By that point, I'd been doing it for 2 years. It's going to be 2 years this month, I think, since I kind of took it over. And at first I was like, I am in a great position.
Right? You're like, I'm already set up for
this
online.
Is all listen, we've been here already, you know, the OGs, man, the OGs
Yes.
of online.
Yes.
And but then really quickly was like, everybody was doing Zoom and it was free and then it started to trickle into, you know, people building websites, and I knew all that was going on.
Yeah.
And Steph's very much aware of like where I was at, because I was like, my pivot was completely different.
Yeah.
Like, listen, go play in that free and low cost space. I can't compete with that anymore, right? And I still have the online following and I still love it. But the growth of that, it's just such a saturated market at this point. So my pivot has to be different.
Yeah.
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 You know,
that's
smart.
fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how do you, so, you know, when you went from being like, oh, awesome, like everything's going online, I've totally got this, and then bam, you see all these things popping up, like everywhere you're looking around, you're just like, oh shit, like there's a new one, there's a new one, there's a new one. How do you keep showing up and being the personal trainer Bernadette that people need that energy from, when in the back of your head, you're just like, F?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is where I'm gonna kind of contradict things that I said before. Because the whole thing about like feeling inadequate, right? All that, and not very confident.
Yeah.
At the same time, I'm very much aware that what makes you have to stand out.
Yeah.
So if everybody's doing the same thing, there's a great picture, and I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's these kids on a playground. It's very old school, and it's like, be the one that stands out, and they're all kind of sitting there, and then there's one girl hanging upside down, and she's like,
And that's you.
right? And that's me. Like, you want to be, so what I felt like that I brought to the table during that time was, people knew me personally, they knew my personality. They knew that I'm kind of like a no bullshit, unfiltered kind of person, which again kind of evolved out of COVID. And just genuinely just keep being myself. I knew that the people that liked me and liked my programming and liked my personality, that those clients would keep coming back.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And that's what I strive. That's what in this market, in this busy market and industry that we're in, that's what you have to do. What makes you stand out from everybody else.
Right.
Exactly.
It's not going to be the thing that everybody, like, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and I'm very much aware of that. But again, that's my contradiction, right? It's like that I have the confidence to be like, nah, you either take me or leave me.
Yeah.
And this
That's
is my
huge.
style, and this is what I preach. And if you like it, then awesome. And if you don't like it, that's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's awesome. And it's, I'm sure, you know, like there's days where that's a lot easier to say and do, right? And then there's other days where you're feeling a little more
Crawl into the
fearful
fetal
or
position.
just like, you know, oh, like this is never going to work, and what am I going to do?
Entrepreneurship, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how we roll.
How many times have I looked up business analyst jobs? PEI.
I could do this again. I did it before.
Absolutely. I mean, and we
Yeah.
talked, because I know that like Leslie was the same thing when she was
Yeah.
on here. She was
Yes.
talking about like, you know,
Shit,
how many
government.
times she'd go back to the government job, right?
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God,
Like, just
that's so many.
Finger on the button, ready to hit
Yep.
submit. But no, I'm going to
That's
trust.
so many of us. Like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
crazy, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit. You started to go down this path, but then we steered out. We'll come back.
Yeah.
Personal training, like one-on-one, your fitness classes that you teach, BodyW8 Balance online. But now you're looking to pivot more into like pivot. Ross, love him. Like corporate wellness.
Yeah.
Tell us more, please.
Yeah.
What does that look like? What are you doing?
That's great to know and figure out. I'll let you know. No.
I'm working on it.
No. And Stephanie's been such a huge asset to that.
Yeah.
Because God love her. I'm like, Stephanie, I have this idea, and this is what I want to do.
Oh God.
And by the way, I'm gonna try to fit it into my plan of everything else that I have going on. But Stephanie was like, no problem. I'm just gonna roll with some things. And so what it basically was born out of is that, again, I have that corporate experience, like that 13 years, right? Yes. And again, it was something that I had pre-COVID. But COVID kind of blew it up a lot, right? Because we have a lot of people working from home. Work-life balance is a huge concern for a lot of people. And I don't know if recently you saw, I put up a post asking people about, like, how's it going working from home? And do you like it? Do you not? So with me, what I found that lacked where I worked at the bank was concern for my mental well-being or my physical well-being. The fact that I would have to, at 5 o'clock, someone would send me a meeting invite for 6:30, and I'd have to say, I can't do that. And I'd get asked why, and I'd have to be like, well, I have a doctor. I had a lot of doctor's appointments. The last year that I worked there, I had a lot of doctor's appointments.
So many
But if I
doctor
taught a class, I couldn't say to people, I have to go teach a fitness class.
Yeah.
Right.
I have to go,
right, 'cause you were already doing it then.
I want to go work out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was like taboo, right? People didn't understand that what do you mean you can't be on this 6:30 p.m. super important meeting? That means everything, right?
That just came up now.
Yeah.
An hour and a half
also
before.
be in an email.
That can also write meetings that don't need to be meetings.
Right. It's a whole podcast
idea.
episode in itself.
Yeah. So it was kind of born out of that because I remembered my experience with and again, I'm not going to bash the company overall. It was just the experience that I had the nature of what we were working on, like with different projects.
Yeah.
And then outside of that, like, I really feel like there's not if you think about the most, and now we're different, but as entrepreneurs, but if you think about the place that you spend the most time, it's at work, right? The same group of people and what you're doing. So, and a lot of times we're just sitting at a desk all day. So to be able to take that culture, because it is this culture, like I have a work husband and things like that, right? At my old job. And
absolutely.
But to take that and to start promoting things, helping the companies to decide things that they can promote, right? We'll talk a little bit about like movement. Just move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do these little challenges with your employees, try to engage them, try to allow them to see that work-life balance is more important, right? It is an important thing, right?
Yeah, and especially people who sit at a desk all day, like movement incorporated in your day is huge.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So how are you taking like what you've learned in terms of your corporate life? And so you're saying, adding in some movement, doing some challenges, doing things like that. Like, are you bridging this with your BodyW8 Balance platform, or are these things that are still to be determined?
No, they could. There's a as is the usual case with the Fitlife Corporation. We are many size. One size does not fit all.
Right. So it's customizable
for sure,
depending on the business that you're working with.
Yeah. So there's movement challenges, but then part of with the challenge is I'm not pushing people to do bodyweight balance. Again, it's just about movement. All I'm saying is like take 30 minutes. The Canadian health guidelines are 30 minutes, 150 minutes of moderate physical activity a week.
Sounds doable.
That's not crazy, right? And that's all that I'm asking people to do.
Yeah.
If they want some workouts or some yoga as a part of bodyweight balance and all the things that we have in there, then absolutely. But a lot of the challenge part is, I do some like motivational posts. I do some educational posts. A lot of the content that you kind of see on my pages or Instagram, but just kind of tailored to, the corporate work-life balance lifestyle. Right. And I'll do some videos like specific to them. But really just making sure that they are attempting to shut off the laptop or shut off the computer at 5 o'clock. Because that was an interesting thing as a part of that post, that people were like, I really struggle to turn off the the laptop, like to turn it off because they're so used to.
At home?
Yeah, because they're so used to just closing it down, and then they drive home, and again the drives home are a little bit different from my Philly commute.
Yeah, I bet.
But I always have that 45 minutes, hour and a half, depending on what it was that day, to decompress, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So, but some people, they find themselves. Yes, maybe they'll shut off the laptop at 5. They feed the kids. They, put the kids to bed, and then they open the laptop back up because it's there and it's convenient. So making sure that there's some self-care in there.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. It's not just for entrepreneurs.
Yeah. But we talk about you guys have talked about that, right? It's like that people will struggle to make that time for themselves.
Big time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. It's tough. And a lot of people too don't have like dedicated workspaces if they just randomly found themselves working from home, right? So you might be at your kitchen table, you might be in the living room, whatever, and then it's a spot that you're consistently seeing too, and that's really hard to like segment that off now and be able to
I don't have a dedicated workspace.
Yeah.
My kitchen island.
It's true. You do work there a lot.
Yeah.
But
I'm moving around
so shut down the laptop, put it in another room, out of sight, out of mind is really big. Yeah. And we're going to be talking about habits in an episode coming up pretty soon too. And that's a big part of it too, is like if it's right there, you're seeing it. So you're going to jump on and do it. But if you like actually close it down, put it away somewhere where it takes an action to get it.
You guys both did who tucks away their laptop? You can't see it, but they're like doing like this, like, I don't even know.
Put it away.
Kind of,
Put it away.
Anyway.
You'll have to catch the YouTube version to see the hand gestures. But it's just out of sight, out of mind, right? And just get it out of there. Because someone was talking to me the other day too. Lisa was saying how she wanted to start sewing again, but she was keeping her sewing machine in the closet. Well, now it's out and it has a designated space and it stays out. Because if you had to go and take it out of the closet every time you wanted to use it.
Yeah.
Right? So same thing.
Oh, listen, that doesn't work for everything. How many people, and someone's going to raise their hand, how many people have an exercise bike in their like bedroom?
And it has clothes hanging all over it.
Closes, like, so that's the philosophy.
Okay, fine. Defunk me. Whatever, Bernadette. I'm changing the subject.
Fight.
Yeah.
She's tough. I'm not fighting her. She's from Philly.
Yeah. I got that Philly in me, yo.
So since we're on the topic of balance and, working and not working, whatnot, you have your business and businesses, if you look at it, because you've got a couple other things on the go. Your husband is also an entrepreneur. Yeah. How do those worlds work together so that you guys have time together and time on your own? Like, you've got friends, he's got friends. You've got a lot in your life and 2 cute puppies too.
Yes,
and
fur babies.
How does that work?
It's been an evolution because so my husband co-owns East Coast Art Party, formerly Art After Dark, which Stephanie was a part of.
I used to
This is
and you can come back anytime you want, Stephanie.
Guest appearance.
Yeah.
guest appearance special.
And then he also does photography. And a couple other things.
And he has a full-time job too.
And he has a full-time job. Yes. Yes. Wow. Yes. Crazy. When Art After Dark / East Coast Art Party first started, I was, again, this is like 2016, around there. So I'm not really doing much in terms of Fitlife. So I was, helping out with the business. Very quickly, we realized that was not going to work. Because,
you guys working together?
Oh, yes. Because I love my husband, but we are very different business philosophies. Right. And this is where he's probably going to listen back and be like, that's not true. Because every husband sounds like that. That's not true. I'm not going to say anything bad. But it's very, it's like he is a risk taker. Yeah. He is confident. He is, not anxious. So like if he's like, oh, I'll just, if this is what we do, we'll just do it. Like that's how we'll just do it. Yeah. We'll just do it, right?
Overthink it.
Business plan. Business plans. What are business plans? Like, we'll just do it.
Yeah,
my gut says this.
Put it on a napkin. Makes sense to me.
Yeah. I'm not like that. I am like not the risk taker. I'm anxious. I am super over analytical, and I'm an analytical person by nature. So for
That's
a
why
lot
you
of
were such a good business analyst.
absolutely the best. I was voted Philadelphia's best business analyst.
Whoa.
That's not true.
Amazing.
That's not true. That's a
coming
lie.
after
I can say whatever lies I want. And it's a PEI, you know. But we very quickly realized, like, because he would come home and be like, yeah, this and this. And I'd immediately switch into analytic mode and business analyst mode and be like, well, you should do this and this and this. And he'd be like, can you just not be a Debbie Downer? That's what it was. It was always the Debbie. Can you just not be a Debbie Downer?
Yeah,
Like, can you just, you know, and especially, and it could have been like a really good thing, a really bad thing. I'm like, oh, I can't even think of an example, but whatever it would be, I would be like, well, don't you think you should like think about this and this? And he'd be like, dude,
You're killing my mojo.
you're killing my vibe. And so it just didn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And eventually I just said, you do you and I do me. And now we do like, you know, obviously like we're very in tune with what each other's doing in business. Like we're not, but if from a working together, or I don't open up a lot. I won't give advice as much. And there's been times where like we have a hot tub and we'll have hot tub happy hour. And that's where a lot of like business conversation comes up sometimes. If it starts to go down this path where it's like, you know, it's turning into a train wreck, then we're much better than we were at just being like, all right, change the subject. And it's not because,
that would take practice.
Yeah. And it's not because that we're, you know, I don't care about, like, it's almost because I do care, I guess is the point, right? Because I'll be like, well, you should think about this and what about this? And so it just doesn't, when it comes to communicating like that, it's just not an ideal scenario for us to like work together. And like, if there's husband and wives that like co-own businesses.
Oh, there's so many. And I just, it's
but it's just because we're
you figure it out.
Our
right?
personalities are very different and our business philosophies are very different.
Yes. Yeah.
I would say most couples that I do find that do work together, they have very similar ideas of business and exactly the same mentality, I find.
Yes.
Like, it's so hard to, like, I could never be in business with James at all because we're so different.
Yeah.
You know, and I totally get it that, like, sometimes you just have to separate that. We can each have our own businesses and it's fine.
Yeah.
Right?
No, it's very good in a sense because he is very smart and he's very good with, like, technology and certain things.
Yeah.
So, like, there'll be things, you know, that, for example, I can't talk about what he's working on right now for East Coast Art Party, but if he gets it to work, then I'm just like, you're going to do that for BodyW8 Balance, right? And I'll pay you, whatever. But, like, he's so good with, like, technology and thinking about the next thing and the next thing. And so, you know, we do feed off, like, and he was showing me stuff today, right, of what he's working on and all that. And I'm like, that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
But just us working together for the same business it's just, I enjoy being, because then it's going to turn into that we're just business people and we have to be married, right? We have to, like, you know, and we have to shut that off.
But you want to be,
I guess
which
so.
is probably better.
I want to be, yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so, and like, good that you had the opportunity to learn that without actually getting into business together.
It was rough. Like, there was
you know?
there was a period where it was really like, you know, he might feel differently, he might not, but I tell him all the time, I have like probably every other month I have this nightmare that like and this is legit, I have a nightmare that like we are getting divorced. Like he comes home and he's like, we're getting divorced. So like
it's terrible.
That is terrible. And a lot of that comes from like my past and stuff like that. Like I've had some issues with that. But you know, so like for me, I need to make sure that we're in a good place, and you know, for us to be in a good place is to make sure everything's still separate.
Yeah. That's fair. Yeah. And I mean, look at all that, like, by you guys doing each your own thing, there's so much that the Currys are doing.
Right. And it's
not together.
And it is good because there are, you know, we both have a mutual respect of, we try to be good with shutting off the laptop, putting the phones away.
Yeah.
Right. But if there are times where I'm like, listen, I need to get this done, or I know that he has to get photos done, or things like that, right? Yeah. We are both in the business to know that those things happen, and you have to be, you have to be patient with someone else as they say, tonight I can't go out to dinner because I have X, Y, and Z I need to get done.
And that could be more understanding. Like if one of you worked a typical just like 9 to 5 and that was it, and would come home
like
and
Lenny's
want the other
9 to 5.
person, right? Like if that's all he did.
Yeah.
Which from what I understand isn't even technically like a 9 to 5. It's more, can be urgent at times and stuff. But if you were, coming home every night being like, okay, great, what are we going to do? And he's like, oh, I've just got to work on this project for this or this and that. Like that would be really difficult. And I'm sure some couples do make that work.
And we've had those times.
I mean, work through that shit.
Sure. Like with Art After Dark. And I mean, when they started up East Coast Art Party and Art After Dark, and, the guys in the beginning were doing all the events themselves. And, then I was hosting some events. And so we were not really seeing each other, and it was becoming too much. Yeah. Again, that's where I mean, like, there was that period of time, like, through the evolution of, like, East Coast Art Party and like, my business and things like that, where we did have to kind of take a step back and say, hi, I'm Bernadette.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Stranger danger.
Yeah. But that was a legitimate problem, right? Because especially when business is going really well and people are thriving towards it, right? And, you don't know how you're riding the wave, because you don't know how the wave might be 3 months, it might be 3 years, as it's turned out to be, right?
Yeah.
But you're just, and then all of a sudden you have to sit down with each other and be like, I'm feeling neglected, right?
Yeah. And be
have that conversation.
To say that. Yeah. It's heavy shit. But you find a way to make it work, right?
Yeah,
it's good. I'm curious to know, being a personal trainer, do you feel the pressure to always be in shape?
Yes.
And how does that impact you? See, as a coach, I should never ask closed-ended questions like that.
Yeah.
So let me follow it up with,
absolutely.
How does that make you feel?
Well, good.
Tell me more.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of go back to that where I talked about the time when I was teaching like 12 classes a week and I didn't have time to do my own workout. And I found I was like training clients, and I felt like, I'm like, how can I train these people if I don't have the strength? Again, some of that was in my head. I did have the strength, but I still felt weak, like myself. And Instagram's great because there are, some trainers out there who put themselves out there as not being the ideal body shape. Because like, as I was on Instagram today, and there was like a bunch of ads of these people coming up, and I'm like, how does she have no body fat on her? Does she not enjoy anything in life?
Right?
Like, so, but I kind of quickly got over that.
Yeah.
It's still a struggle. I struggle big time with body image issues. Big time. But I also know that, for me as a trainer, like, my lifestyle has to be something that I enjoy. And I think we harp a lot on how we look and how we feel, and, doing things or doing certain diets and things like that are super restrictive, and really like, is that the person that you are? If you like to go out with your girlfriends on the weekend and have a glass of wine, and then all of a sudden you're going to stop that, like, you going to be able to do that forever? No, like, that's not the life that...
Is it worth, like, letting go of that happiness to, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I hate the saying, like, what did someone say before? Like, something that was like 5 or 6 years ago, I saw it. It's like, nothing tastes as good as skinny feels. Like, I call bullshit on that,
my God.
right? Like, no. Like, I think there's many things that taste way better than being skinny.
Yeah.
Right? And that, like, skinny isn't really even the goal anymore. It's like strength and being able to do things, and how do we change that mindset?
I could show you skinny. It's not, it's not going to be a fun person to be around.
Right.
It's not.
Yeah. It's not worth it, right? Because it's like your own self-care and your own mental well-being. And if you're not...
I've been the 110-pound me. And guess what? I got a lot of compliments at the 110-pound me. The person in my head was not a good person.
No.
Was not a good person. But on the outside, I look great. Right?
Yeah.
Now, I feel on the outside pretty good, but my head is really good.
Yeah.
That's good.
And
That's
for me,
awesome.
like that's more important. I'm so fortunate, and man, like Lenny's gonna love all these kudos that I'm giving him. It's good this is coming
for something.
well,
aren't
actually,
you?
it's Christmas time coming up.
Oh, I see.
I got some things on my wish list.
Big things, Lenny. Big things.
Yeah, big things. Tesla, his and her Tesla. But he, literally just the other day, he was like, "Listen, like, just be happy how you look. Like, you're beautiful. You just enjoy life. Like, I love you. I love you the way you are. I loved you 8 years ago.
Yeah.
Like, don't put this, you're putting this pressure on yourself to look a certain way. And because I say it like at least 5 times a week. I'm fat. Right? And he's just like, listen, I love you. I'm not going anywhere. You're beautiful.
Yeah. And how do you get to the point where you believe him and you truly love yourself?
Why do you do that?
That's who I am. You know this.
Julianne with the hard-hitting questions yet again.
I do feel like I love myself for the most part. I don't think that, I think you're kidding yourself if you say that there are never things that you look at physically or mentally and say you don't want to work on things, right?
Absolutely.
Like you're always a work in progress.
Yeah.
I also have a big problem with perfectionism. So that's
The devil.
the devil. Yeah.
And then, so that can be tough. But
I was gonna say, especially coming from, because you and I both struggle with anxiety, and I know for myself, it's always what other people are thinking of me. It's funny because I find myself pretty confident, even though I know I'm a little bit, a little extra. But for me, I find that when I look at my anxiety, I'm always thinking about what other people are thinking. Is your anxiety kind of like that, or is it so? Very different?
I think there's a lot. I think there's a lot of different dimensions to my anxiety. Like, did I lock the car outside now? Like, I don't know. Someone probably I mean, that's how my head works. But it's funny you say that, Stephanie, because I remember very vividly when we did an event together for Art After Dark.
Oh man. Going down memory lane.
Going down memory lane. And like you're very, you are how you are when I see you, right? You're calm, like again, the way you give yourself off. You're on the quieter side. And if you've ever seen like a paint night or an Art After Dark event, like there's an artist that commands the room, okay, and like walks you through the painting, right? And there's some comic relief and things in there, right? And I remember when we were setting up and I think we were at the factory downstairs.
Wow.
And I remember, because I was just like, oh my, how, like, she's so quiet. Like, this is going to be, be a train wreck, man. I'm going to have to like carry this with my hosting abilities. And then I was like, and I did my little host spiel, and then I was like, and here's Stephanie. And I, not a word of lie, because you had worked for paint night, right? Was that what you did out when you were out west?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I worked at paint night in Edmonton.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, here comes little quiet Stephanie, like, all right, guys, we're going to take our big brush. And I was like,
I want to see
wow. But it was amazing. Like, it was just amazing how you just, like, you switched and, like, you commanded a room and you were confident, right? And it's just along the same lines of being, of what my job is, right?
Yeah.
That's why, like, when you circle back, a lot of people, when I tell them I have anxiety or I've had battle with depression, I had a mental health team, I had a nervous breakdown, they're like, what? You
never.
Yeah.
But that's because, like, and from 10 years ago when my breakdown happened till now, you can talk about things and not feel embarrassed or feel like people are going to judge, right?
Yeah.
10 years ago, I would have never told people that I had anxiety.
Yeah.
If I was a fitness instructor or a personal trainer, because then they'd be
even
like,
in
oh,
general.
great. Like, we're going to have to worry about if she has like a nervous breakdown in the gym or something.
Yeah. We're so fortunate that the conversation is much more open now and that we're still not in a place where we have perfect resources or accessibility for people and whatnot, but we're moving in the right direction. And because
and realizing how much of anxiety treatment or depression treatment ties into movement and exercise.
Yes.
Exercise, and this is going to sound dramatic, but it's true. Exercise saved me.
Yeah.
It saved me. I was going into a very dark place. And that's when, ironically, like 2 months after I had like my breakdown was when I taught my first fitness class. And that was the rebirth. Like that was the new me that was coming out. And if it wasn't for me going to the gym and working out and clearing my head, like that was everything. And I say that to clients to this day. Like the days that you don't want to be in here and training with me are probably the days you need to be in here and training with me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And not just making it about, and as a trainer, it becomes not my job is just not to worry about the physical and your programming and your form, safety, things like that. My job is also to make sure that I'm there for you if you need me outside of that.
Yeah.
If you're having a bad day and you come into my studio, I'm going to know that, and it's going to affect your session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of times, this clients just come in and I say, every session, I say, how you feeling? I'm not saying how you feeling. I mean, physically and mentally.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because both are equally important as to how
for
that
sure.
session's going to go.
I love that. Like, how lucky are your clients that you care to that next level? Because I'm sure not all trainers are like that.
Well, I remember very vividly in my personal training course that Rob, and Rob is local to PEI. He was like, you keep it professional. You do not become friends with your clients. And I was like, I remember I'm out of here. Well, this is horseshit. I was like, yeah, absolutely. I was like, and sometimes I toe that line. Like when I work with Sean at the gym, like sometimes he'll be like, he'll give me a look like you're a little towing the line of professionalism. But I know what I can get away with clients that same with you, Julianne. Like if when we worked together, when we were doing stuff at the gym and stuff, right? Like I know I can be like, oh, your tushy looks good today, and poke you. Like I know I can do that, right? But I'm not gonna. But I'm not gonna go up to like my client on the first day and be like,
fair. Yeah, no, that's awesome. I love that. I want to talk more. So, wrapping up to our final question we always ask everybody is, what is self-care to you? And you talked a little bit about it, and obviously fitness is a big part of your life, but I want to know what else you do for the self-care portion.
Yeah. So, obviously fitness, my workouts are a big part of it.
Yeah.
I'm big into I was taking their time where I was doing like a self-care Friday. So every Friday I would do something that was for me. Whether that would be like, I'm a big fan of massage. Mostly.
Us too, apparently.
Well, mostly because a lot of times by Fridays, my body's kind of beat up.
Right.
So I'm like very much looking forward to one. Or maybe I'll get my nails done. Or, I'll get a facial. Like I said, working out's a big part of it. Right now, I'm doing hot yoga.
Nice.
Once a week. And, but other than that, I love reading.
Yeah.
Like, I'll read my book. I read my book every night.
Nice.
And I'm a fiction person. I'm not, big on reading a lot about, like, I don't want to read like business.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I
live it all
day. So I use that to like shut it off.
Yeah.
And sometimes it'll just be a matter of like grabbing the dogs and going for a walk.
That's awesome.
Like that's how I was getting my Thriving Tides in.
Oh, it's a great way to do it.
But I think like exercise is a big one for me.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I did a post there a couple weeks ago about a very real day at the gym on a Sunday when I like pulled up and I parked and then I started the car and then I literally started to leave because I was without going inside.
Yeah.
Because my anxiety was so bad. And again, probably people can relate, but like sometimes I just have anxiety and I'm like, I don't know why. I don't know what I'm anxious about. It's a Sunday and I'm planned for the week but I still am anxious. No idea. So I like literally have like the conversation. I'm like, no, Go back. So I get out and I'm like walking in, and again I'm like, I don't know why I'm here. Again, walk downstairs, see the people that know me, switch it off. Hi, hello. And then I'm like, I'm just gonna move and just do something. And then I just got on the rower and then moved. And then I got off the rower because I was like, this is boring. And then I kind of was by that point, I was like ready for my workout. But like
once you're in and kind of just get started.
You're already there.
Yeah. But it's crazy how.
Getting in that door.
Totally. But it's crazy how much better I feel after. Like I had no anxiety after. It's like the best medication, and it's cheap. Can be a gym membership. It can be a BodyW8 Balance membership.
Yeah. Could be a walk outside.
Could be a walk
like
outside. Yeah. There's been times where, like I said, if I just need to just get out and go on a walk, like that's my self-care.
That's awesome.
But it's it's a conscious effort, especially as an entrepreneur. Like I feel like it's entrepreneurs, it's moms, it's dads. You have to make it a conscious effort to do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's crazy when I say to people like 30 minutes, 30 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Frustrated because people were like, oh, I don't have the time.
You do.
You do.
Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it's hard to take a real good look at how you're actually using your time to see where you can find those 30 minutes.
Oh my God. Do you guys do like do you guys have the notifications that pop up now that say like your screen time?
No. Is this an iPhone thing?
It's a Mac and iPhone thing. But and there's two separate ones.
Wow.
It's scary, man.
Yeah.
Reality
It's
check.
scary. And you know
Reality
what? It's
check.
useful because that's, for me, a large part of what I've been doing the last couple weeks is that's part of my self-care is if I'm getting into the vortex of Facebook or Instagram or things like that, is switching that to something that I enjoy more, right? If I have that time to like scroll and stalk and do that, then I have the time to devote that to myself and self-care and
absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that. That's a good catch for yourself, right? Because like as entrepreneurs, we obviously have to be on social media to a certain extent, but when it becomes the just mind-numbing scrolling, or that's when you start looking at other people and comparing yourself and going down a dark hole, it's like, shit, stop.
The rabbit hole.
Get outside. Yeah. Damn rabbit hole.
Yeah. Except now it's getting chilly, so.
Well, layers.
Okay.
From the girl who's
you guys are
always
from
cold.
these parts?
I'm always cold.
You guys are from these parts? I still got that American blood.
One day you'll learn. Awesome. That's a great self-care routine. You've got quite a variety that you can pull from.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. I love it.
Yeah.
Is there anything special happening with your businesses that you want people to know about?
Well, there's nothing I can unveil. It's all very exclusive.
Oof. Big stuff. Big stuff.
Some big stuff coming into the new year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So
I mean, I guess
teaser.
I don't want to say big. It makes me sound like I'm way more important than I am.
I think you're important.
Oh, I didn't even pay you to say that.
I know. And this is going to be airing on November 4th. So it's just a few days into November.
Wait a minute. When's the election?
The 3rd. So a day after.
I don't know what that has to do with when this podcast comes out.
American. Squirrel.
Yeah. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe someone should be checking in on me on the 4th just to make sure I'm okay. If I'm silent on Instagram, like we should just make sure. But I think we'll be okay.
Good.
One way or another.
But you'll have we'll just be a few days into November. You have a new challenge happening in BodyW8 Balance for November.
Yes, it's the booty challenge.
All about the booty.
Well, listen, I'm going to put out a post out there because it's not just about the aesthetics of the J-Lo booty, okay? A strong glute is very important.
Okay.
Okay.
So if someone wants to see that post, where can they find you?
They can find me on Facebook at Fitlife PEI.
Yep.
They can find me on Insta at Fitlife PEI.
Yep.
And that's it because I only allot myself 2 social media platforms.
That's fair. That's a lot.
Fair.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
I mean, maybe, I don't know. Maybe Steph should be like coaching me that I should be on other things, but I really can't. I can't handle it. I can't.
I always tell people it's whatever you're comfortable with and what you can actually handle. Yeah. And I always tell people never put the pressure on yourself to be on every platform. It's no point.
Yeah.
I can't handle the TikTokers. I don't know. I mean, I'm gonna date I'm gonna sound so curmudgeon. I'm like these like they're just like.
What is happening?
I don't know. And if you're looking, I'm sorry that you just had to witness my stellar dance moves.
I loved it.
Yeah, Facebook, Insta.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. Well, thank you for coming here tonight.
Thank you for allowing me in your closet.
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
I hope that I come back sometime.
Yeah, we'll put it under review.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Will I get like a little like scoring sheet?
Well, yeah, we're not really that sophisticated yet. We're still pretty new, but
I like that choice of word. Yeah. I mean, listen, there's a ring light in here. This is pretty legit.
It is.
Listen, I don't have a closet this size to house 3 adult women in it. So you guys are getting somewhere.
Perfect. Well, thank you for the kudos.
And there's some lovely shirts in here, by the way.
Right?
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, you want to wrap us up?
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to another episode of Thriving Tides.
Have a great night.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for joining us for this episode of Thriving Tides. Hit the subscribe button to never miss an episode.
Follow us on Facebook and Instagram to stay connected. And remember, don't fight the rip currents.